We've already said the Pledge of Allegiance. Assuming there are no delegations.
There's no delegations, Mr. President.
So, Doc, you can keep going on your superintendent's update then.
Well, let's just do that, Mr. President. I'm going to first of all recognize Dr. Hay, who will discuss. And let me say that if any of you are getting calls, from as it relates to the curriculum or the online instruction, and we're learning every day. We're learning something new every day. They have, really been limited here. People seem to be, getting their instruction. There are still a few issues, and I'm going to ask Donna to give you an update as to where we are with the online instruction. Okay, Donna?
Sure. We talked about this, of course, at the last meeting, and we're feeling our way through this, and we have probably 95% of our students are being serviced through an online delivery system, whether using an app, email, or Schoology. But we do have those students that are limited not by structures within Harrison County Schools, but with broadband access. So Todd and Dr. Manchin and I were talking about the school buses and positioning those out in churches, in some locations in our county, right. Such as the Lincoln feeder and the South Harrison feeder particularly. Those are areas that we notice. And some sections of the Liberty feeder as well. Those are the areas that we notice, not because of limitations through Harrison County Schools, but because they can't find a broadband provider for them, or they run out of data with their hotspot on their phone. So we did look at, and we have had many conversations with a handful of parents who have called in and concerned about us going all electronic. As I was talking to Dr. Manchin today, if a parent has a cell phone, which Todd shared the statistics that there are more cell phones on this planet than there are people. But if a family has a cell phone, we have many teachers and principals that are working with those families to, you can look at Schoology on the cell phone. There is an app for Schoology. You can submit work back to a teacher by taking a picture of it on that cell phone and either emailing it to the teacher if you have email access, sending it through the Remind app, which many of our teachers were already using with their families anyways, or through the Seesaw app, or sending it through Schoology. So those have amounted to a lot of individual conversations that principals have been having, teachers have been having, and working with families to listen to their frustration and to find out ways to support them as we are all doing this online education process. And as we were talking about today, we are not experiencing problems that all of the country is not experiencing with this. We were a little better set than many counties in West Virginia and even throughout the country. But we are asking for patience and grace and a lot of individualized circumstances and considerations being made as we go through this process. I did have some information to share with you about kindergarten registration. We will do that. It will be an online registration, and it will be during May 4th through 8th. And we will be working to push that information out on social media tomorrow. Pre-K registration will be online as well. And we are looking at May 26th to June 7 to do that online registration as well. So we would not ask families to physically come in and do that registration process, but they could do that online. We are making special considerations to waive medical documentation, shot records, dental records, if a family needs that. And as long as we have that by the first day of physical school, that's when we need it by. And so we're looking at making those conditions for our families. Credit recovery. We have many students who are anxious about graduating, and we have 75 active credit recovery students in the county. Those are students that are in grade 12, and they're actively trying to recover credit so that they can graduate on time. So, and we have 35 students who need to take one of the task or options tests. And we will be scheduling those with the students on an individual basis and following all of the CDC and health department restrictions so that we can get those students tested in a testing center here so that we do not delay their graduation as well. We have not received approval from the health department for our model for extended school year and the middle school academy. So they have recommended that we do that virtually. And they did the same thing for Energy Express. Our concern in doing that is those groups of students that generally benefit from middle school academy or extended school year are many of the same families that are really struggling with an exclusive online learning environment. And so that would be difficult for us to meet their needs and do those programs justice online. So right now we are looking at temporarily suspending those or postponing them until a latter part of the summer. And I talked to United Technical Center today. They are continuing classes just the same as Harrison County Schools is continuing classes. They are utilizing Schoology as well and following many of the same models that we are following. Matt Call indicated he has about 7 students in Harrison County Schools who were failing on March 13th, and he has been unable to contact those 7 students. And so he'll be reaching out to the principals starting tomorrow to see if they have any additional contact information or ways to track down those kids. But he says he is seeing great success with this online model. He's seen students that have gone from a 41% to a 73% since March 13th, and they're doing some real good work on the online environment, which he said he was skeptical of because that is very much unlike their environment. But he reported they are seeing good things from our students in that. So we are staying the course, and teachers are doing an amazing job. I know you guys are seeing that and hearing that as well. We do have some hiccups along the way, and we're glad when those are reported to us so that we can get that information to principals so they can address that swiftly. And
thank you, Don. I might add that we're going to make every effort to keep our students engaged through June. It's going to get more and more difficult. I don't think there's any question that we're going to struggle here as this thing progresses, but we want to keep our students engaged. We want to make sure that they understand the importance. I am planning on sending out a message. I think, Gary, per your discuss, there's a number of things that we need to communicate with the parents and students and community over the next several days, which I intend to do. But we're committed to keeping our students engaged and continue the instruction online model, and hopefully this will continue to work. So there is an issue of grading. We have been discussing that how we grade our students, and we're going to continue to work with our students. If there's a question, can a child fail? The chances of that are almost nil, but they could with a lot of documentation. There are a number of questions that have to be asked and answered. There are a number of people it has to go through, including the principal, the assistant superintendent, and myself, if the teacher intends to lower grade during this time. There are several ways that we can review and assure that all the questions have been asked and answered prior to that grade. But the vast majority of grades will stay the same, if not improve. So if you do have a question to that effect, please send them our way. We'll interact with them. I've done that a couple times here over the last several days.
I had a question, and he wasn't in. I sent it to Donna, and she, said, like you just said, plenty of documentation, all because I guess there's some kids that flat out refuse to do anything, and the parents you can't contact them anymore. They try to contact them and everything.
And flaunt it, and only in those rare occasions would a child's grade go down. But I don't think we could take that off the table. Once you do that, then whatever little bit of hope we had of keeping these kids engaged would go away. I think, to be honest with you, it's going to get really, really difficult starting now, given that the governor said that there's no more school. But we're going to try.
I don't think that, I applaud you guys for keeping that that stick-to-itiveness, so to speak, because I don't want us to go into that situation where kids get a free ride. I mean, I still think they need to be engaged and they need to have some effort. They need to produce some effort, and there needs to be some incentive for them to produce that effort. I don't think, as I said last week, I don't think we should throw in the towel. I think we should continue to ask for excellence.
And that's a good point, Frankie. And indeed, that's what we're going to be doing. And like I said, if you all have any questions or anything as this thing progresses, if you get a question from a parent or somewhere or a student, please send them our way and we'll be glad to interact with them.
I wish the governor had waited about 2 more weeks for it.
You probably had to.
I have a question. So, and I kind of was listening to Donna. So we no longer are providing any paper copies, correct?
Well,
To any.
yeah, we are working with families on an individual basis. I tell you, in talking to our principals, they provided a number of paper packets. Several families did not pick them up or did not return them completed. So if we are contacted by a family that really needs a paper copy of something, our principals and teachers are working with them to help them submit things through a cell phone or to access things through a cell phone, or they're getting paper copies to them via email. But we are not exchanging any paper copies at any of our food distribution sites. And often when we have conversations with those parents, I talked to a parent just yesterday, and she didn't realize she could submit things through her cell phone and take pictures of work, and that she could access things through Schoology. So we are having those individual conversations and helping parents to realize the possibility of that. But because Harrison County is a hot spot and because we are under the governor's stay-at-home order, we are working to minimize families having to come out of their house and drop things off at those food distribution sites and handle paper.
And I might add to that is that the educational process doesn't always, not with just with the students, often with the parent themselves, to get this and effectuate all of what we're trying to do. Some of you got to teach your parents, and I know we've been doing a little bit of that. So, but I know, Kristen, that has been an issue, particularly those who they want the paper copy, and what we're trying to do is dissuade them from doing that because of all the issues. So we've been working with them.
Name is being used. I know one parent today, they've been trying for 2 weeks to get online or whatever, and they were having issues. It was a grandparent, which we have to realize we have a lot of grandparents with kids, as we all know. And he called today. I told him to call the principal, and he was told on April 13th, Dr. Manchin said there will be no more paper copies for anybody in Harrison County. So just so you know, you're being thrown under the bus, not told to, call Donna or anything like that, but they were told that on April 13th, Dr. Manchin made the announcement, no more paper copies for anyone.
Well, Donna and I had this conversation, and that is incorrect, by the way. So,
well, it's Nutter Ford. I'm pretty sure their kids go to Nutter Ford. So I told him to call the helpline, which he did. And so actually, while we were in our meeting, he called me. I didn't answer his phone. But I do want you to know that, once again, parents reaching out, trying to get help, saying they can't get online, they're being told, well, no paper copies, via Dr. Manchin on April 13th. Made an announcement.
We have 3 principals meetings scheduled over the next, 3 days? We have middle, elementary, and high, and we'll reiterate how this discussion goes. And like I said, Donna's doing an excellent job working with the principals, interacting with the principals, and sometimes a little common sense would be better served here. Even if that's the case, don't say it. Just say, let me take a look at that and try to work with them. Then we get back with them. But I've been pleased. I'll be honest with you, board, that I think the principals have done a yeoman's job. This has been very difficult for everybody. And I think the principals have done an excellent job. I think the teachers have done an excellent job. And tomorrow, I meant to tell you is that, and Frankie obviously your children go to Johnson, there will be a get together tomorrow. We're social distancing and everything. They've already everything is going to be scheduled, and we're going to go over there at 5:45. And I think kids are going to drive by. We're going to wave at them, which I understand many people are doing around the country. And I'm glad we're doing it. I'm gonna be out there. I'm gonna wave. They said I can't touch anybody. I can't hug anybody. I can't shake anybody's hand. So they're gonna tie my hands behind me and gonna put me in the car and just stand me up.
Well, Dr. Manchin, I just want you to know, once again, this doesn't reflect when I get these phone calls. It has never reflected on what we are offering. It is just the matter of the situation that you have so many people in a household, parents using computers, the internet bands that are good and do exist are not capable of handling all the usage. Because you have your parents working at home. A lot of them don't have multiple devices. That is the reason for paper copies, not that
right.
not that they can't, get on their phones or whatever. But it's the internet that has been having issues, not us. I mean, the people that have called me have tried to use the internet and are making every effort possible. It's just they get kicked off and on, just like I do on Netflix or anything I've been watching. I'll be watching something and boom, it gets off. I get kicked off. So that's the reason why they have asked for paper copies, is for that exact reason. So I still think if a parent asks for paper copies, especially with as many grandparents that we have, today I saw that it's not carried on paper anymore, by the way, like your groceries and stuff. You can check on that. But I saw an announcement today that it no longer sits on paper suddenly. I get sick of all the different contradictive announcements. But anyway, just so you know, I still think it's very important that if a parent needs a paper copy, that they get a paper copy.
And I think you're right. And only in those extreme circumstances, we're going to instruct the principals. Don't, if somebody says, I absolutely have to have it, say, okay, let me take a look at it. Let me get back with you, talk to Donna or me, and let's see what we can do. And in those extreme cases, but I agree with you. Some of the older grandparents, hey, guys, okay, we're going to get you something and try to make them happy. I agree with you. There's no reason you should absolutely
say 3 students and 1 computer, or 3 students and 1 iPad, and the parents are doing their work from home. It's just, it helps parents to be able to work, because they're being required to work at home, and have their kids working on the dining room table on their paper copy. I mean, it's still an important thing to have out there.
Well, I'm going to relay that to the principals at the principals meeting that we're going to have and open up that discussion. But I hear you, Chris, and I think you're right.
Thank you.
Mr. President, that's it, right, Don?
Yeah.
That's all I have on curriculum and technology. I want Mr. Lopez to give you an update. We have some good news we're getting some information back from the School Building Authority and Tom Warridge on the Lost Creek project and a little bit on the Gore project. But Mr. Lopez, if you'll give him up to date there.
Yes, we did receive word from the School Building Authority that the design development was approved on April the 20th, which was Monday. And so now we're moving into putting together the bid documents and plan on having it bid on the 15th of May.
Which one, Jimmy, Lost Creek or Gore?
No, this is Lost Creek. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Lost
15th
Creek.
of May.
Yes. And opening those bids on June the 5th. So hopefully it looks like construction can begin that following Monday, if everything works out right, June the 8th. And right now, tentatively, with the timeline, we're scheduled for completion 12/30/20. So at the end of the year, there's a possibility that then we'll be able to move in second semester of school into the new building at Lost Creek. So that's good news.
Now, do we have, Jimmy, the alternate bids as well? I mean, is that something that'll come? Like we were talking about the gymnasium or the.
We will speak to the, as they prepare the bid documents. That's the appropriate time, Michael, and when we start that process, of course, anytime, any board member is certainly welcome, but I know, Michael, this is your community too, is that we'll let you come in here and open the discussion with the architect, but the appropriate time is now on the alternates. What kind of alternates? We're gonna. It could be a deduct. It could be an add alternate. The architect will help us on that. But what we just simply give him is the direction we want. We want additional square footage, and here's what we want. He'll bid it as an alternate, and what will happen is that there may be one alternate, maybe two alternates that go out to the construction companies. And when they bid them, and an alternate means that they'll bid that separately. So we get a base bid, we get two alternates with what you just said. Yeah, and answer your question, it is my intent to ask that they create an alternate for the gym, right,
The
Michael?
Yes.
Yeah. That is my intent, and let him bid it up. We'll let him bid it up. We pull that number. It's a separate number, and we can either say up or down if that's what we want.
Okay, thank you.
Tentatively, we have a meeting scheduled with Mrs. Trent on Thursday to go over the floor plan. I think she's pretty happy with that now. So anybody's welcome to attend that meeting. Just send me an email or let me know. And
Thursday, what time?
Thursday at 1:30.
Where's the meeting at?
Well, it's a online meeting like we're doing. So if you like to attend, I can send you that email with that information to log in.
Yes, I would like that.
Okay. It has a floor plan. It's pretty small. It's hard to see, but there's a floor plan with that as well. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. It's moved forward to the Gore project. If there is not any more question about the Lost Creek project. So far, we have began looking at doing some survey work. We've already ran a water flow test and done some of the testing. We need to do some geotesting. We want to set up a meeting. Tom would like to set up a meeting early at some point next week to begin the planning, pull some of the preliminary conversations that we all need to have to begin that process. And of course, Dr. Haig and everybody really should be represented here from the county office to begin that process. So we're hoping to do that with both of the principals at West Milford, or at Wilsonburg, and also Adamston, either early to mid next week. So the only other thing is we are working on some of the final steps of the CEFP. Hopefully we will have a meeting set up by the week after next and begin taking a look at those priorities that have been identified under the building assessments that have been completed, and then also some of the replacement costs. So I will forward that information through Dr. Manchin to you all in the near future.
Thank you.
Okay, Jimmy, thank you. Ms. Steller, you want to touch on a couple of things on personnel?
Yeah, just a few updates. We're, of course, finalizing and finishing up the personnel transfers and any movement that we have with personnel on this meeting date. And then we have quite a few positions out there open, and then all the retirements, all the jobs that are currently vacant and all known positions that we have will be posted. We've got that first May meeting. We're going to have a large posting May 7th. So everything known that we have right now will be posted on that posting. So it's going to be quite a large posting. So we'll get information out so our staff know that posting's coming out. We'll let the principals know so they can let people know that posting's coming out. But we're really stayed on track with that, even with all the things happening. We've been staying on track with personnel, so, and our deadline. So thank you.
When would we be voting on transfers or anything like that?
all the transfers, all the movement with staff's on tonight's agenda. On this one, yes.
Mr. President, that's all I have, superintendent's update. So for any questions, certainly, as I've already told you, that we'll be meeting tomorrow with Johnson, and we're going to continue to stay engaged through this whole process.
All right. Thank you very much. This brings us to consent items. Is there a motion to approve consent items as presented by the superintendent?
Mr. President, if I may, at the appropriate time, if there's no objection, May 1st is school lunch day. Traditionally, every year you approve that. We bring the cooks in from all over the county, and we do the proclamation, the whereases, and all that stuff like that. Obviously, we're not going to be meeting again as a board prior to that May 1, and I'd like to get this out. If there's no objection, certainly we can, and we just put it together today. We just checked the dates and realized that we would not have another board meeting before May 1st. So if there's, and I don't know if you want to read it or look at it, but you've approved it every year.
Yeah,
It's a proclamation.
It's a proclamation.
Yeah.
And Mr. President, if I can ask Dr. Manchin too, along with that, we do have on top of the school cooks, which this is for the cooks, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and we know how much they've been of value to us over the last month. So not only the cooks, but I know there are some other, not all of our cooks, I don't believe, but there are some that went above and beyond and are out preparing these meals, correct?
That is correct.
Is there a way that you as a superintendent or we as the board can sign them? If you can identify those cooks who have gone above and beyond that are out there preparing these meals during this, that we can send them a specific certificate.
That's a good point.
I know it's not a whole lot, but at least there's some recognition there that we can get them something that, hey, they went above and beyond. They're out there feeding our kids when their own health is at risk.
And we will certainly take care of that. And based on this, and if you approve this proclamation now, we'll identify those and we'll work up a little something special, and we'll go out personally and go out and hand it to them.
Yeah, I don't think there's any objection with the proclamation. Not that I would be aware of.
Without objection, all right, Mr. President, then we'll put this date as the date that this has been approved by the Harrison County Board of Education.
Okay. All right.
All right, Mr. President.
Would you have the volunteers? I know we've had a lot of volunteers that have helped
Correct.
out.
Yeah.
So maybe we should do something as well to recognize the volunteers in a general sense, not in an individual sense, but recognize that Harrison County appreciates all the volunteers that have helped assist the cooks in distributing the meals.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of we've had a lot of help. This is I think this is more reflective of the good that exists in this county and this state, not the bad. And right. I think that people shine during times of crisis, and it exposes character, sometimes good, sometimes bad. But I think that generally a lot of people really come together and really help this. Todd, why don't you get that thing fixed so I don't have to look at that?
Oh, this would be a perfect time if you have an old box of your father's medallions he used to give away. If you had some of those, you could give them away now.
Little tokens.
That's an excellent idea, but I doubt because he gave them to every West Virginian and everybody in the state. So I'd have to see. I'll put the word out.
Okay.
Here's my
certificate. Did you get that?
Honorable A. James Manchin.
Does it say Gary Hamrick?
Yes. Ambassador to the Ship of State.
Absolutely.
1981.
You're ambassador to the Ship of State. He made some a Mountaineer millionaire. You didn't quite get that.
Ambassador to the Ship of State.
All right, buddy. When he was state treasurer, he put Mountaineer millionaire. We'll take care of that, Gary. Thank you. We'll make sure that people get. I love to recognize people, and if we'll do it.
All right. Anything else?
No, Mr. President. That's all I have on that. I think you were on consent, weren't they?
We were in consent, yes. Yes, I just wanted to make sure we didn't proceed forward unless there was anything else.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. So if there is nothing further from the superintendent's update, is there a motion to approve consent items?
So moved.
Mr. Hamrick has made the motion to approve consent items. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Hoag has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. No new business, no old business, no policy updates. This brings us down to personnel items. Is there a motion to approve the personnel items as presented by the superintendent?
Before we go into all personnel, I have to recuse myself from Nicholas Scott Hogue as a substitute custodian. He's my
Right.
nephew.
Noting Mr. Hoag's recusal, is there a motion to approve the the personnel as presented?
So moved.
Mr.
Second.
Hamrick has made the motion to approve, and Mr. Doherty has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I do, real quick. And I just want to thank the staff and especially Dora and Mr. Hoag can testify to this. We're coming at the end of our 8th year on the board. And, you know, for the first probably 3, 4, 5 years, we had a lot of transfers to the point where I remember being in there 2 days in a row just doing transfer hearings. So I don't know, we've gotten to the point where we've got people where they need to be and we don't have to worry about it every year. So I think it's commendable. We've sat through more hearings, the first 4 years or so than you can imagine. So to not have those hearings to set through means that people are accepting that we're doing the right thing.
Very good.
On behalf of Doris
Thank you.
Steller, I say thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. If there are no further discussions,
My only discussion is on the new position. Is that for Vic's position or?
Mhm.
Okay, and the changes or enrollment in approved program, supervises special service and attendant and staff. I just want to look at this. So the contract goes to 250 days now.
Actually, it's been 250 days. This is an old, the 240 days. Obviously Vic's been here, I guess, 20 years.
Last time it was revised was in 2002.
So the position presently is 250 days, and the updated version of that just reflects that. What you
Okay.
see.
That changed.
Okay.
okay. If there's no discussion, we'll take the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Personnel matters are approved. This leads us down to the meeting adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I make that motion.
Mr. Doherty has made the motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Hoag has seconded the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Mr. Hoag?
Children of peace, go in peace.
Thank you,
All
everybody.
right. Thank you all.
God bless you guys. See you later.
God bless you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Be safe.
Let's see where
Frank,
we
when's-
stand.
Be safe.
When's our next meeting?
May 7th?
May 5th. Right?
May 5th.
May 5th.